Hello students, let me continue on this chapter 5. So the topic for today is option, currency call and put option. So I'm going to start by reviewing on the payoff curve of both call and put option, and then I'm going to talk about upper bound for both option. And then I'm going to talk about when firm want to use currency call and put options. And after that, I'm going to go over with the trade-off between the option premium and its strike price. And if time is allowed more, I'm going to talk a little bit more about put call parity, right? That's the outline of today's lecture. And let me start on this slide, right? As you can see, right, this one. So upper left one is payoff for core option purchaser, right? The minimum is a premium pay. That's a loss. And if the spot price goes beyond the exercise price, right, payoff increase 1-to-1. $1 increase in the spot price correspond to $1 increment to your payoff to the holder of core option, right? For here, upper right one is a payoff for the put option purchaser holder, right? And once you purchase put, you prefer the price of underlying asset, which is pound, to go below exercise price, right? As it falls, your payoff will increase, 1-to-1 relationship, right? 1 cent per correspond 1 cent payoff gain to you, right? And I want to go on page 18, right? And let me expand it, right? Here, upper bound for core and put option. Upper bound for core option, upper bound for core option premium is spot price, right? On the other hand, upper bound for the put option premium is exercise price. These two are different, but pretty much these two make sense. Let me read the sentence I wrote here to explain why upper bound for core option become the spot price, right? And for this one, right here, if the call option premium, let's suppose it exceeds the spot exchange rate, right? If that happens, one, the issuer, the seller of call option could engage in arbitrage. How? By selling call option because the price of call premium is higher than spot price, right? Then the cost of purchasing the underlying currency, right? Exercising call option involves the cost. How much is it? That's the purchasing of underlying asset, which is pound here, right? So purchasing price is lower than selling price. That's the concept of arbitrage. What is arbitrage? I want to make a gain. For or how? I'm selling at a higher price than the price I paid for the purchase, right? So here, if we assume core premium, if that exceeds the spot price, right? Suppose I became a seller of core option. The revenue to me, this one, right? The revenue, the value of the revenue, the selling price is higher than what? The cost for that, right? Selling core cost to me, the writer, I have to purchase underlying asset at a current price. That is S. And if S is lower than the selling price, that I'm making gain, right? So it will not happen, right? Let me speak in Korean. 자, 영어로 지금 말했는데 뭐랬죠? 아비트러지는 게 내 이익을 얻으려면 매도 가격이 매입 가격보다 높으면 되잖아요. 매도를 콜을 쳤는데 매도하고 내가 받는 돈이 콜 옵션인데 그걸 위해서 내 비용이 있을 거 아니야. 뭐야? 콜을 팔면 상대편이 나한테 엑서사이즈 하러 오면 내가 뭐지? 언더라잉 어셋을 딜리버 해야 되잖아. 딜리버 할 재료를 사는 게 내 매입 비용이지. 그게 S인데 더 낫다는 거야. 그럼 나한테 좋잖아. 그쵸? 그러면 모두 다 콜옵션 라이터가 되고 싶어 하겠지. 반대로 콜옵션 행사로 사려는 물건의 현물 가격보다 옵션 프리미엄이 비싸지면 나는 콜옵션 매도인데 콜옵션 매입자는 내가 매입 가격이 그걸 행사해서 얻을 이익보다 더 크다면 누가 이런 옵션을 사겠나요? 안 되죠? 그 말은 뭐야? 지금 내가 반어법을 쓴 거지. 콜옵션 프리미엄이 스팟 프라이스보다 높을 수 없다는 얘기죠. Let me move on the upper bound for a put option. The upper bound will become X, right? So we think in the same analogy for the call option, let's suppose otherwise, in other way. Put premium become above exercise price. So right here, if put premium exceed the exercise price, one here, the writer or issuer of put option could engage in arbitrage by selling what? The expensive one, right? What's the cost for that? Once I sold the put option, right? The holder of put option will come to me, right? And for him, the money I can receive is what? The X, right? That's the cost for selling put option. But the cost is lower than the revenue the writer is enjoying, right? Then writer keep making money. That's the arbitrage. Will it that happen? Even if the writer won, the purchaser of potential purchaser of put option will not come to me. That's the reason. Let me speak in Korean. 자, put 행사로 여러분이 행사에 수취할 돈이 뭐예요? writer의 X죠. 그것보다 여러분이 옵션 프리미엄을 더 많이 낸다면 그런 풋 옵션 사겠어요? 안 사겠어요? 그렇죠. 하지만 반대편은 원하는데 여러분이 매입자가 그렇게 나서지 않는다는 거지. 그러면 안 되잖아. 그 말은 그 풋 옵션 프리미엄은 X를 넘을 수 없다. 엑서사이즈 프라이스를 넘을 수 없다는 얘기가 되겠죠. 제가 말은 저는 이미 강의를 해야 되니까 준비를 돼서 이렇게 하는데 여러분이 다시 한번 생각해 보세요. 아마 그러면 꼭 그렇게 쉽게 이해되는 건 아닐 거예요. 어려운 내용이에요. 다음 페이지로 넘어가겠습니다. Now, we need to think about when or how the multinational corporation firm use currency call option. First, we think about the case the MNC will use call option. They will use it for hedging payable, right? If we have a payable here in Austrian dollar, you need to consider to purchase call option, right? And let's suppose you are the owner of Pi Corporation, right? That's a U.S. corporation. What this firm does this firm import the Australian goods, right? With a payment contract in the denomination for that is Austrian dollars upon the product delivery, right? So you have a liability of payable. Does it make sense? Once a product from Australia delivered to here, then I have an obligation, liability to pay in Austrian dollar. That's the concept of payable. So I want to be neutralized against the changing risk of the value of Austrian dollar. For that, I might consider purchasing Austrian dollar call option. That's what this lecture or this slide teach or suggest to you. So here, if we purchase call option, that call option locks you, Pi Corporation, in a maximum rate at which Pi can exchange dollar for Austrian dollar, right? Austrian dollar call option, if I bought it, I always can purchase Austrian dollar at a exercise price, which is promised in advance from the seller, right? So the maximum price I have to pay for the purchase of Austrian dollar is locked in exercise price. So I became risk-free from further appreciation of Austrian dollar. That's what it is, right? This exchange of currency, here the currency implied Austrian dollar, at the specified exercise strike price can be executed at any time whenever I want, as long as it is before the expiration date, right? Actually, this is fit for American type option, but not for European option. So here we assume this option is American style. American style, the holder can exercise option any date before the maturity. Against American, European, the holder exercise exactly on one day, which is maturity day, right? So in essence, the call option, right, Austrian dollar call option contract specify the maximum price to purchase these Austrian import, right? If Austrian dollar value depreciate or remains below the strike price, Pike can purchase Austrian dollar for the payment at the market prevailing spot price, which is lower than exercise price. So I discard the right to exercise call option. Because that's better, because I have other good market in alternative to purchase at a price which is lower than exercise price. That's also good news to me, right? And this currency call option may be more appropriate than futures or forward contract for some situation, not always, right? So this company, Pike Corporation, can use call option to hedge its order backlog in semiconductor, right? You made the order for the import from a company in Australia, but the company has a lot of backlog, right? So your order has a chance to be canceled, right? If we purchase forward, you are obliged to execute that contract to purchase Austrian dollar. Instead, if we purchase call option, right, you have a flexibility to let the option contract just expire. You don't need to exercise it, right? And forward and future, the liability is the same. Here I explain assuming, I guess, future. So here, forward, right? The distinction between these two, the trading place, whether it is OTC or exchange, right? That's a key difference, right? So either forward or futures, the purchaser is obliged to fulfill its obligation, even after the order from the factory in Australia, if that was canceled, right? Against that, option will give you much more flexibility. In return for the flexibility, you have to pay premium at the beginning as a sunk cost, right? That's the kind of a trade-off you have to think about. Now let me move to the next slide. Now, in the previous slide, we assume the intention of call option purchaser is pure, but we may raise a question. Is it true for all the purchaser of currency call option, their intention is so pure? Could not be in some case. So sometimes try to speculate with currency call option purchase, long position on that, right? So let's say speculator, he does not have any Austrian dollar payable position, right? This investor only expects that foreign currency Austrian dollar will appreciate, right? He doesn't have any obligation to pay in Austrian dollar in near future, but he got an expectation Austrian dollar will appreciate. I don't have enough money right now to purchase. I'm underlying Austrian currency, but I have certain money to pay for the premium of call option on Austrian dollar. Then why do I have to hesitate on purchasing call option? So I decide to purchase call option because I got my outlook, and I can exploit that outlook by speculating on call option, right? And as I expected, once the spot rate of Austrian dollar appreciate, right, then I can exercise call option, right? By exercising, I purchase at a exercise price. And I have a good market to sell it at a higher price. Right? That's what this one. Right? It is just like as currency futures. Futures, you need to pay a certain margin, not entire money. Right? So it is like future purchaser. Right? By the way, a seller or writer of call option is obliged to sell a specified currency, which is Austrian dollar, at a specified price, which is the strike price, upon a specified expiration date. Right? So let's say we only consider the potential purchaser of Austrian dollar, but the other counterpart of the trade is writer, other speculator, right? Why does he want to sell a currency call option? Because he have opposite expectation. He expects that the Austrian dollar will depreciate in near future. That's why he decided to become a seller of currency call option. And as it does, he can enjoy the premium, right? By selling option, in return for selling, he will receive the premium. And the best scenario, the holder of call option will never have any chance to exercise it. That chance, what I mean here, is depreciation of Austrian dollar, right? That's why. Think about the case. Someone is selling the house. The other guy is purchasing house. What's the behind reason for these two? Seller expect the price of house will fall, or at least will not rise in a near, will not increase. What about the purchaser? He got an expectation in near future the house price will increase. So seller and buyer always has opposite expectation. That's why they are trading with each other. Right? Let me speak in Korean. 자, 콜 옵션은 언제 쓴다고 제가 했어요? 페이어블이 있을 때. 외화, 오스트리안 달러로 페이어블이란 라이어빌리티가 있을 때. 그러니까 뭐 미지급금이지. 미지급금이 있는데 그걸 지급하려면 그 나라 통화를 사야 되고 그 통화를 내가 지금 살 돈이 없더라도 어떻게 하면 돼? 옵션 프리미엄만 내고 살 수도 있고 퓨처로 살 수도 있죠. 그쵸? 그러면 지금 뭐야? 오스트리안 달러가 어프리시에이트 할 게 걱정이 되다 보니까 오스트리안 달러 콜 옵션을 사거나 오스트리안 달러 퓨처를 사지. 그때 콜 옵션을 살지 퓨처를 살지는 또 up to me예요. 나한테 달려 있어요. 그렇죠? 그럼 행사하지 않을 순간에 내 기브업 하려면 콜을 사는 거고 무조건 나는 행사해야 된다면 퓨처를 사야 되는 거겠죠. 아니면 포워드나 퓨처는 둘 다 같고요. 자, 그런 얘기를 했었고 또 다른 얘기는 내가 뭘 했어요? 그러면 나는 그렇게 오스트리안 달러 콜 옵션을 사고 싶어 하는데 팔려는 바본 누구냐? 살려는 나는 근데 오스트리안 달러가 절상될 거라고 걱정해서 그래놓고 팔려는 사람 뭐야? 절하될 거라고만 믿지. 그래서 예를 든 게 뭐야? 집을 갖다 사고 팔 때 어떻게 해? 집을 파는 사람은 집값이 떨어질 거라고 믿으니까 팔고 지금이 꼭지라 생각하니 팔고 사는 사람은 지금이 꼭지가 아니고 더 오를 거라 믿기 때문에 사는 거죠. 모든 거래가 여러분 그렇습니다. 그렇게 생각을 여러분 안 해봤을 수도 있을 텐데 학교 앞에 스타벅스에서 커피 한 잔을 사 먹으면 여러분은 5,000원 내는 것보다 여러분한테 유틸리티가 더 높으니까 사죠. 파는 사람은 5,000원보다 제조 원가가 덜 드니까 파는 거지. 그런 거잖아, 거래라는 게 사실은. 그렇죠? Now let me move to the next slide. Here, we're gonna consider what the factor affecting the put price, put premium, right? We went over the factor affecting currency call option premium, right? Pretty much the same thing. What about the T? T is the length of time before the expiration date. Sigma is volatility or variance of the currency, right? So we learned in previous lecture as T, the remaining time until maturity, as it gets larger, the premium of call option increase. And the same logic applied to put option, right? And for sigma, right, higher sigma, the value of call option will increase, and the same thing apply for put option premium. So let me go over these two first, and then I will go on S minus X, the gap between spot price and exercise price. First, let me think about this one. Length of time before the expiration day. As it was in the call option case, right? Spotlight has a greater chance to fall low below the strike price as we have longer period of time until maturity comes. Means we have a longer period of time to exercise that option. So same logic here as it was in call option. Third one, potential variability of currency. The greater the variability of currency, the higher is the probability that the spotlight can fall below the strike price, right? So in other case, otherwise, if the currency become less volatile, right? If that is true, put option premium becomes lower, right? That's exactly the same as in call option cases. Let me speak in Korean. 자, 여러분이 옵션을 똑같은 엑서사이즈의 걸 갖고 있는데 하나는 6개월 동안 행사할 수 있고 하나는 3개월 동안 행사할 수 있어. 어떤 거 여러분 돈을 더 낼 거야? 찬스가 3개월 더 많잖아, 6개월짜리가. 그쵸? 그 다음에 돈이 볼러틸러티, 분산이 돈의 가격이 A가 B보다 더 높아. 그래서 분산이 높다는 건 플러스로 크게 올라가거나 마이너스로 크게 내려가는 거잖아. 분산이 적다는 건 플러스로 적게 올라가거나 마이너스로 적게 떨어지는 거고. 그런데 옵션이란 건 지금 풋 옵션 같은 경우야. 떨어질 때 행사할 거잖아. 떨어지려도 어떤 경우가 더 나아? 많이 떨어지는 경우가 낫지. 많이 떨어질 수 있는 통화는 반대로 뭐야? 올라가는 것도 많이 올라가겠지만 그때는 뭐야? 그때는 내가 풋을 행사 안 하면 되니까 손해볼 건 없거든. 그렇다면 나한테 행사했을 때 이익 기회가 더 많다면, 크다면 그 볼륨이, 그러면 프리미엄 밸류가 올라가겠죠. Now let me go to S minus X. So it means the gap between exercise price and the spot price, right? As you can see, as S falls below X and the extent, the magnitude become greater, payoff function shows a higher level, right? It means what? As this one become a greater means here, let's say, if this is 100, S is 90 or 80. So let's say this is S0, this is S1. What about S0 minus X will become minus 10, 90, 100. What about S1 minus X will become minus 20. So this one will give you higher payoff, right? But in mathematical speaking, right? Mathematically speaking, right? This one has lower value than this one. So what it means, the lower the spotlight relative to the strike price, the higher the put option price will be, right? Now let me clear the page. As you easily can see, I'm sorry, 이거 안 되죠. Right? What about this one? Let's say minus 10 and minus 20. For minus 20, S minus X, right? This is lower value, but the put premium as a payoff compared to this one, minus 10. What about minus 20? Payoff is higher. So as this one goes down from here to there, right? Put premium increase. That's why we have minus sign, right? And let me move to the next slide. Now here, we want to think about, we already thought about when firm use currency call option. Now we want to talk about when firm want to use currency put option, right? Call option, the firm want to use if it has obligation to pay in later. We call it when it has payable, right? For the put option, the other case, when firm has the receivable in the future, right? I will receive Austrian dollar or here Canadian dollar in 3 months later, right? And I want to convert it into US dollar. What will be my main concern? The asset, Canadian dollar, I'm going to receive in future. If the value of the Canadian dollar, if that for in future, my asset value in future will decrease. So I want to be hedged against that, right? To hedge against that, what about purchasing put option on Austrian dollar? Put option, I can lock in the minimum price I can sell the asset, right? So here we assume Duluth Corporation based in United States. I exported a product to country A. The country A become Canada, right? After I export, I have to receive a payment for that, but for the payment, the denomination is in Canadian dollar. Let's say my delivery date or my future expected payment reception date is 3 months later, right? And I will receive that in Canadian dollar. So I, Duluth, is concerned that the asset, which is Canadian dollar, received in future, if the price of that depreciate over time. That's my concern. So to insulate myself against possible depreciation of Canadian dollar, I, the Duluth, purchase Canadian dollar put option. So by doing so, I, Duluth, lock in the minimum price rate at which I can exchange Canadian dollar for US dollar, right? But the other scenario happens. Against my concern over the depreciation, Canadian dollar appreciate. If I purchase futures on Canadian dollar, right, then that's not so good. I'm sorry. For futures, instead of purchasing, I have to sell it. Selling futures, right? For the futures, I'm locked in. The contract content itself. But the option, I can just throw it away. Just by throwing away premium. That'll be not. By not exercising it, right? So, the other opposite scenario happens. So, does Canadian dollar appreciate? I may still want to exercise put option. But rather than that, the better one, just give up exercising, right? So Duluth can let the put option just expire by itself and then sell the Canadian dollar because the value appreciate, right? I can receive higher price than the exercise price which I'm supposed to exercise put option at, right? Now I can raise this question. What about speculating on put option? Does it possible or not? It is possible, right? When, even though I don't have any receivable in future, I can purchase put option. That's kind of short selling of Canadian dollar, right? Let me move to the next one. Now here, I'm going to talk about trade-off relationship between the price I paid for and the exercise price. The price I paid for here, I mean premium of each option and strike price. So here, we imagine Cisco system, that's the company name, weigh the trade-off. Let's suppose here, he decided to use put option. Even for put option, there is a trade-off. Why did he decide to purchase put option? To hedge the remittance of earning from Europe. Might be his subsidiary in Europe. They earn or they make the earning in euro and they will limit to the main parent company, right? And the parent company concerning about depreciation of European dollar, they purchase put option. They want to decide to consider to purchase put option, right? So here, the Cisco company, the parent company can create a hedge of long put, Now the concern is the price he paid for. I consider the purchase put at a relatively lower exercise price. Against that, I still consider the put option but with a higher exercise price, right? Let's say this is lower exercise price, this is higher exercise price put option, right? My concern is falling price, right? It was here today, but it became this one. If I purchase higher exercise price one, I'm making this amount of money. If I purchase lower exercise price one, right, this is under zero. I'm just losing my premium paid for the purchase, and I don't have any chance to exercise, right? So this one looks better, but for this one, the option premium for this one should be higher than this one. So if I make it entirely correct, premium for this one should be higher. Thus, I have to put it back in below furthermore, right? That's the kind of a trade-off. So paying higher premium in return for that, I have the larger area for the exercise put option. That's better. But the trade-off for that, I have to pay higher premium. That's the concern here. So here you can create the hedge of long put at a relatively lower exercise price. This one at a cheaper premium. But the option can be exercised only when the currency spot rate decline substantially enough. Right? On the other hand, if this Cisco score is just to ensure the currency can be exchanged at a more favorable exchange rate, right? Then purchasing this lower exercise one with lower premium, I will consider more about purchasing put option with a higher exercise price and it associate higher premium, right? That's the trade-off concern. Now let me move to the next slide. Here I'm going to talk about put call parity. This is not so easy one. How can I do so here? Let me take a short break and I want to resume. Let me resume the lecture. So here, I think it's better for me to read sentence by sentence. Given the premium of European call option, which is denoted by C, and the premium for the put option denoted by P, both options with the same exercise price, having the same exercise price X. For them, put call parity equation can be driven as below, like this one. I make a note on options on, this is Australian dollar, right? And you can make a comparison with the equation I told you in financial market. Put call parity was this one, right? Actually, it was P minus C equal X minus S, right? If we switch this one to the right hand side, it will become this one. Get back to this one. Right? And now you'd better make a comparison between these two. The one in financial market, the one is in here, international financial management. Right? Almost everything looked the same except for this S term. This S term has this kind of discount. If we are talking about option on Australian dollar, interest rate applied on Australian currency is applied here, right? So for this one, this X exercise price, actually at this exercise price we can issue bond, or in another way you can borrow this amount of principal at this discounted price. The discount rate is denoted by this R. And the maturity, T represent year term. So if T goes up to 2, then our borrowing or bond maturity will become 2 years. That's what it is. Let me erase. Right? And depending upon your textbook, some textbooks prefer to use this one. So mathematically speaking, 1 plus R is correspond E minus R. This E is exponential. The value of this one, 2.74. Or might be 2.714. I'm not sure, but roughly 2.7. So if we have this one, discount twice, then you can multiply this one, the power term by T, right? And the interest rate here is like this one. For the present value, to compute the present value, we need this discount rate. That's this R, become this one, right? So the key thing is here, we have new interest rate applied on the foreign currency, which is Australian dollar. And as you can see, interest rate in Korea versus interest rate in the United States, normally those two are different. So this R, plain R, and R with star, you'd better suppose both of them are different from each other, right? So the distinction from financial market, the option on stock, we don't discount for this S, but here we discount S. That's spot price of a currency, target currency. Here it corresponds Australian dollar, right? And here we assume Australian dollar value is denominated in US dollar. So plain R is an interest rate applied to the denominated currency, which is US dollar. And this R star is target currency or underlying asset for that call option or put option, Australian dollars interest rate, right? And the first thing, you have to memorize this formula, right? And I will not go over why this equation is correct, because that's the material you have to learn by yourself or in prerequisite course. That was financial market, right? And put called parity here. Parity means equation, equality between these two. So I want to prove this parity to be held always. The way I show is by the method of contradiction. So contradiction means, let's suppose this equation is broken. If this equation is broken, we think about inequality, either this way or that way, right? So first, I will show this broken case. So P is lower than the right-hand side, right? And if I show you something problematic situation happens, then it cannot be sustained, held, up to be held. And then I'm going to go over this one. The price of put premium is bigger than whole right-hand side value. And also I can find the contradiction or market adjustment. Actually, that's what I'm going to show to you. And once I show both direction, and I can derive the result, this equality in market always to be held. That's what I'm going to do. So here, first try. Put premium is lower than whole right-hand side value, right? Then what I'm suggesting, this kind of strategy, you'd better write the call and take the revenue by taking the premium for writing on call option. And at the same time, you need to purchase put, right? Purchasing put, you have to pay premium. that's gonna be your cost. So the basic way, if we suppose this one, what I'm suggesting, make the revenue from writing core and please pay cost to purchasing put. That's the cost. And the same thing, this analogy applied to these two remaining terms. So whole this right hand side correspond to revenue to you. Left hand side imply the cost. And think about the concept of arbitrage. Through the arbitrage, if we want to make the profit, it's like make the revenue higher than the associated cost. So here, right hand side correspond to revenue, left hand side, the put premium correspond to cost. So right hand side, the sides of the right hand side turn out to be bigger than the left hand side, then you are making profit because your revenue become greater than the cost, right? And to become a revenue, think about how does call option works as a revenue to you. Then you have to sell it. Sell call option, in other words, short on call. So selling in this investment class, we say short or shorting. Buying correspond to long. So if we bought one call option, we say you construct one long call position. If you sold one call option, we can say you construct one short on call option position. That's how we use the terminology which is used in investment class, right? So here, call to become a revenue to you, you decide to become a writer. And put to become a cost to you, you construct a long position for put, right? In order to do so, you are paying put premium. What about the other one? How does this X, actually this is discounted value of X, become a revenue to you? What about issuing discount bond, right? Principal is X, but as of today, right, discount bond, it doesn't have any coupon, right? Instead, the issuing price is lower than the principal by this extent, right? So you decide to issue a bond. Issuing bond, right? You have a liability to pay on the maturity date, but that's the later thing. As of now, issuing bond, you are earning money. You will take the money as a proceed, right? So, same thing, selling call, you are earning a premium. But later, once the purchaser come to you and exercise it, that is costly thing to you. But as of now, selling call is a revenue to you. The same thing for food, right? Purchasing food is a cost to you, but we have a right to sell, and the right will generate revenue in later period, not as of today. That's what I'm saying. So here, we just compare the money reception, money payment as of now, right? So for the right-hand side, what I suggest, you have to sell the call, you have to sell the bond, issue the bond, right? Issuing bond, let's say the principal amount is 100 million. After discount, you take 90% of that. So you got a huge cash as a proceed, right? And you have to spend this for something else, which will be used for good purpose. I mean, profitable things in future to you. What about this minus S? So here, these two terms were positive. Now we are talking about minus term. And think about for this right-hand side. Right-hand side is all about the revenue, right? Minus the total value of revenue become less because of this minusing, right? As I said, as we issue the bond, we got the proceed. Let's say 0.9 million. You don't need to keep the money. You have to invest it for something else. For this is kind of investment. So you got the proceed by issuing the bond. You want to spend that for purchasing this spot currency, Austrian dollar. And for that, you don't need the full amount on the maturity day. You can spend a little less money, right? Once you bought Austrian dollar, you don't take that immediately into your pocket. Instead of that, you will put it on a bank deposit account. And deposit account will give you this R-star interest rate until maturity. So if you want to get $1 million after a year, 0.9 million US dollar deposit will be enough if you consider 10% interest rate. That's what I'm saying. So now let me go over once again how we construct right hand side. Right hand side, we bought the call, right? We sold the call, right? It was a mistake right before. We sold the call, we issued the bond, right? Selling call, issuing bond, you got plus proceed in cash, right? You want to spend that on entire money purchasing what? Austrian dollar, right? If there is some leftover still after that, that's going to be your revenue, right? And put, you purchase put. To do so, you spend the premium as a cost for that, right? So let me read this one. Cash outflow happens. Is it happen in right hand side or left hand side? You can say the left hand side. Do you have any cash inflow in Korean? That's a sweep. Yes, you have. Where? For right hand side. So cash inflow, as of today, if it become greater than cash outflow, you have still some leftover. That's a good thing. That's the arbitrage, right? So let me read this one. If the actual put premium is less than what is suggested by the put call parity equation above in the right hand side, then arbitrage can be conducted. So here once again, you could buy put option. It become a cost. You can sell the call option at the same, buying put and selling call, right? If we took the financial market already, you can imagine buying put and selling call. If we combine this one, you got this one, right? This is a shorting position. And you buy the underlying currency. Underlying currency, you got a long position for the underlying currency. So you got this +1 slope long position, -1 hypothetical or synthetic position. These two are cancelled out. So you become risk-free, the flat one in financial market, right? And the purchase of underlying currency are financed with the proceed from selling call option and borrowing at late are the borrowing in another way to borrow. You can directly borrow from the bank, or another way, you can go to the capital market and you can issue bond, right? By issuing bond, you can borrow money from the investor on that bond, which you are issuing right now, right? So you can imagine the foreign currency purchased by leverage. Does it make sense? By the leverage, you borrow the money and you purchase the foreign currency, and that currency should be deposited at the foreign currency interest rate. Then regardless of the situation, for the past or future currency exchange rate over the lifetime of this option, arbitrage will result in profit. Let me move to the next one. Let's say first, if the exchange rate turns out equal to exercise price, then right hand side is greater than put premium, revenue greater than cost. Then you got a profit, the gap between these two numbers. Another one, let's say Austrian dollar could appreciate or depreciate. These are only two possible scenarios until maturity, right? First, think about appreciation. By the way, right hand side is call and this issuing bond and purchasing Austrian dollar. Appreciate above the exercise price. Then loss occur from where? Your shorting position on call, because the purchaser will come to you and exercise it, right? Then the seller should be exposed to the loss by the exercise of the call option from the holder, right? Whereas the put option you bought become of no use, right? This is put option, this is call option. Appreciation means spot price moves this direction. So this one become valid, this one become useless. That's what it is. On the other hand, right, the foreign currency, which is Austrian dollar, you already bought before, right? You bought the Austrian dollar. That's why your revenue become less. You got proceed in cash by selling core, by issuing bond. You spend the total money on purchasing Austrian dollar, right? The loss you have to experience is because you are selling core. Selling core, once the exercise is required, then you have to go to the market, you have to purchase underlying asset at a higher price, but you already in advance stock the Austrian dollar. So actually there is no loss to you, even after the call option is exercised by the holder, right? So there is no additional loss. And then if we go back to here, whole right hand side value still greater than the left hand side, the cost for purchasing put option. So it's okay even after appreciation. Now what about depreciation? Let's say the foreign currency Australian dollar depreciated below the exercise price, right? Then you can exercise put option, right? That's why put option become cost to you, right? That's a good chance. So you are making huge money. Is it entirely good news? Is that all? No, that's not. The bad thing, you bought the Australian dollar, which turns out depreciate, right? So you will occur a loss from the long position on Australian dollar, which you bought, right? But the amount of loss incurred from the long position on this Australian dollar will be exactly covered by exercising put option. Does it make sense? So there is no additional loss once again. And then, meaning I told you you are risk neutral in these two cases. Appreciation and depreciation, your position is entirely risk neutral, right? Then the remaining concern to you is only this inequality. It turns out left hand side lower than right hand side. It will become revenue. The amount of revenue is greater than the cost spent on purchasing put premium, right? Last one more thing. This kind of arbitrage. So basically for this option market, you are selling call, you are buying put option. So a lot of selling pressure put on call option. If the seller dominate the buyer, the price of target asset will fall. So the call option premium will fall. What about put? Everybody want to buy. So a lot of purchase. So amount of purchase dominate the amount of seller on put option. Then the put premium will increase, right? Right hand side was bigger than the left hand side, but the right hand side, the call option value itself is start to fall, and the put option premium is start to increase. Then it will become to equal. Or you may argue to me, oh, it could be otherwise, reversed, right? That's the thing I'm going to go over with you in the next time, right? And for today, let me stop my lecture here. And I wish you to see you on coming Thursday.